All right, staying with the theme then about what exactly are the holiday trends and how the F&B and hotel sector has been impacted. Let's connect then with the management of Foodlink F&B Holdings, which is a huge player within the catering space. Sanjay Vazirani is the chairman managing director and now joins in on the show. Pleasure to have you on board. Thanks much for joining in. I'm sure much like the hospitality industry, the catering industry too, on account of the COVID pandemic, has taken a huge hit. Give us a sense as to what the past few months have been like for the company.
Well, thanks for having me over, and it's definitely affected, all the sectors, and obviously hospitality has been battered most. Catering, is a discretionary celebration business, and owing to, the sentiment and owing to the compressed, incomes, we definitely have had a pained time in the last 3 to 4 months, maybe more. But having said that, a lot of lessons learned and, a lot of new ways of working, operating, have come to light. Clinical levels of clean, hygienic approach to, what was never taken seriously earlier, seriousness of compliances, dealing with a lot of low ticket sizes, loyalty shocks, trust deficit, a bundle of, challenges which we have, been going through.
Okay, so these have clearly now been some of the key learnings during the COVID. So what about your initial supply chain constraints, labor issues that you faced? And now with things opening up gradually, how have things improved for you at Foodlinks?
So initially, I think, supply system was, there was abundance of availability, but owing to, the lockdowns and, mobility issues, we did have challenges, but now I think things are much better, maybe 70-80%, back to normalcy. Supply chain is not a challenge. As far as, the partners or the human resources or, the human capital is concerned, we've been able to mobilize once, trains started and, we could mobilize most of the people back. But it's quite settled there, though. But I think, the W-ness of this COVID has been causing concerns again. At a point, we thought, beginning of November, that we were out of this, sticky mud where, we were stuck. But, last, I think, few weeks again have, pushed us back with these night curfews and with these, new strand of COVID coming around. News, and it's maybe it might be very, sentimental, or it might just be a fear which is driving it, but it has caused a lot of, difficulty again for us to, stop the machinery or partially stop the machinery and go forward. So we're dealing with it, but it isn't greatest of shape, but we're getting there.
Sanjay, tell us, are there any new trends that you foresee in catering? Are consumers now opting for a particular kind or the other, or is it all the same as to how it used to be pre-COVID?
So I think, there are two I think, things in this. One is that there's a current trend, which I hope is short-lived and looks like a short-lived one, where there are, people have gone back to basics. People, are wanting to do very focused and small menus, unlike, the pre-COVID times where each gathering would have, 200 items being served on a wedding catering platform. But now people, for this short term at least, have gone back to basics, focused, theme-based menus. Less is more for them. And of course, based on the protocols which we need to follow, it isn't very easy to execute caterings the way it was before. The current trends, people, are wanting to try and follow as much as social distancing during the catering and, the seating arrangements. Earlier, Indian wedding was predominantly over-servicing was required when it came to service of food and beverage. But that temporarily looks changed, and people are only opting for assistive service or self-service, whether it's pass around of appetizers or circulation of starters in an event, or it's a bar counter where even self-services started to be seen. So these are, I think, the short-term trends where people are kind of adopting to it. But knowing Indian mindsets and the habits, I'm sure trends will again change soon, and once this gets past, we should be going back to the original trends of larger format and maybe more opulent and large spreads in the wedding.
Sure. So as an impact of COVID, Sanjay, what is it that you would have to deal with? Have you had to scale back on your expansion plans, taken a hit on your fixed costs, or perhaps stall the capex for a while?
Yes, we did have to, put a halt to a couple of very large projects we were going ahead with, building a large banqueting space in Ahmedabad, which was about 55,000 square feet of a luxury standalone banqueting facility. There were some things happening in Jaipur, a few other places. So we have slowed them down. What we were to open in April and May have now been postponed to January, February. We are going ahead with it, but in a slow pace. Other geographies which we had just about or partially started, we are pained a little, but I think slowly, steadily we will be kind of executing those as well. We have a large central kitchen for catering in Mohali, which had just started pre-COVID, end of last year, beginning of this year. But it's going slow and steady there. We have decided to do little expansion in UAE because market here in Dubai is little, it's bullish and might be a good time to be here. So we're putting a couple of restaurants and catering central kitchen here while India we're not doing much, but we're going ahead slow and steady with what we need to do.
And just a quick word then, what's the plan now for New Year's as due to the curfew, are people having smaller parties? Have they cancelled their plans altogether?
So I think, we social beings will never kind of, want to cut down celebrations completely. So I think back in Bombay, Chandigarh, Ahmedabad, where we have a base and we have party, capability, the curfew is causing concerns. So we moved to, day parties, and we are trying to do celebrations which would end maybe, it will not take us through the New Year's, but might end prior to that. So we are finding ways and means to deal with, each territory or each city in a different way, where celebrations could be done within the protocols set by the authorities. We might not be definitely be able to meet the numbers which we did pre-COVID, but it would be something that we have to kind of go through it.
Oh, yes, indeed. Perhaps Singapore Standard Time New Year's is going to be the new norm. But it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for taking time out and Sanjay giving us an insight as to how the catering business has been impacted and what the outlook is. So that definitely gives you an overall 360-degree view from hotels to private vacation homes to the catering business as to what the COVID impact has been, how companies are re-strategizing and what future trends for 2021 look like. With news that the index is at 13,924, we'll take a short break.